Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you're new to this channel, or you have not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal link in the info box below the video once it is rendered. But most importantly, if you would like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the discussion and express your views on the shape of the Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show. Sharing the show increases the live audience, of course, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. So please share the show. And one last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now, we are joined by Arwin and Sleeping Warrior. How are you both doing?
Yeah, doing good. Good afternoon.
Afternoon?
Yeah, I didn't early. For you, it must be just mid-noon right now.
Just gone midday, yeah.
I didn't realise I was on mute. Listen, Nate, let me just get straight into this. I want to address something that about yesterday's hangout that either we didn't explain well enough for dumbasses to understand, or the dumbass just doesn't understand it. So I'm going to go with I'm going to eye on the side of caution and suggest that possibly we might not have explained it well enough. Do you want to share my screen and let me know?
Yeah, sure. Just give me a second. Okay, you're on.
All right, so you uploaded a snippet, a 16-minute video from yesterday's hangout, and it was about Ruhif and the turbines. And I listened back to this because I thought maybe we didn't make our case well enough, or maybe he's just thick. And it dawns on me that it's probably that he's just thick.
Yeah.
But it's also possibly the case that we didn't explain it enough. And I was reading his comment, and his comment reads, right, so according to Ranty, these turbines are 1/3 of a mile apart, and there are 7 of them, which makes it a 2-mile stretch. Left to right, that is a drop of just 32 inches. The turbines on the end are 16 inches below the center turbine, and you're expecting to see that 16 inches against an image where the height of the hub is like 300 feet. You're an idiot, Nathan. So I said, no, Ruhif, it's an accumulated drop from his observation point. You need to realize that these are like 9 to 10 or 13 to 14. I can't remember what the actual figure was. And that drop's not 32 inches. It's an accumulative drop. And this is where it goes wrong. He says, yeah, it is about a cumulative drop. See the comment that I just posted on the other thread here. So I checked it and realized that this is where it goes wrong for Ruhif. What he's saying is that the cumulative drop from the observer when he's looking from behind is 11 to 13 miles. And that's on the observer's z-axis, right? That's easier to see than the drop over just 2 miles in the x-axis. And I thought, right, I get it. I know where he gets this. I know where he's getting this wrong. So what I've done is I've responded to him and I said, so why does the view from behind match the same view with the lampposts that were taken over a mile or so? And I'll show that in a sec. Just please answer that question. You were shown the cumulative drop from behind and another view from behind of less than a mile, but both pictures are the same. But over 13 miles, that cannot be the same. Why is that? Why is that the case? So I'll show you the pictures. This is the one that he was shown, and we used the same view but from the side to show that these were flat. But the problem is he has this picture from behind, and it's like I think it's about 13 miles of accumulated curve from the observer. But he was also shown this picture, which is obviously over about half a mile, 3/4 of a mile or so, maybe call it a mile, but we're seeing the same angular drop because of perspective. Now, all right, granted that they're a bit of a different size and they're a lot closer, so there is a scale adjustment to make. But the point is, we're seeing the same straight line perspective on that picture that we're seeing on that picture. This one's got no accumulated drop, but that one's got 13 miles or so, and it can't be the case that both pictures should be the same. So it's like when Taboo Conspiracy said that both models cannot be the same, one must be wrong. Well, it must be the case that if perspective is causing the turbines, the lamppost to drop over a mile or so in a straight line, that if you were going to have a straight line over 13 miles or so, the Earth that we live on must be flat. So what I think happened yesterday is that Ruhif got a little bit sidetracked with the left to right curvature bit with with the red lines, blue lines, green lines thing. I think he got distracted by that, not realizing that was making our point. But I think he got sidetracked by it because he found an angle on it. But I just wanted to correct the perception from our point of view, which was if there's an accumulated drop over 13, 14, 15 miles, you would see it here. But this picture cannot match that picture. And we see both lines. And that can't be the case. So I don't know if we didn't explain it properly yesterday, or whether he focused on an angle that he found, which basically obfuscated the point, which is a sign of intelligence, or whether he's just thick and he just didn't get it at all. But that picture, Ruhif, cannot be the same. What's the word? Aesthetically, as that one. They cannot be in a straight line if that one's got 13 miles of accumulated drop. Nath, have you got anything to say to that, or in addition?
Yeah, the calculator omits perspective.
I don't think he gets that. Well, no, he says that, but it doesn't need to account for it, he says. But what's funny, when he said that, I felt like strangling him because I felt like saying, look, this is over 1 mile, and clearly the biggest effect in the picture is perspective. There is very little curvature, if any, over a mile. It's only 8 inches. And we're not expected to see curvature over 8 miles, but the biggest effect we see on that picture is perspective. Without any shadow of a doubt, it's like 90% of the picture. So why is it not the same in this one? And the curve is like, the curve's supposed to be pronounced and prominent over like 18 miles or so. It's 13 miles. I think it was about 75 feet. Well, 75 feet is the height of one of those lampposts. So we should see the difference of that drop there, cumulative over that short distance between them turbines that are at 13 miles, and we don't see it. The guy's either a moron or he's deliberately found an angle to try and obfuscate the point. And I just find it despicable that I can't work out whether he's just thick or whether he found an angle and he obfuscated the point to death. But when I listen back to it, Ruhif, you can't have the same picture as these two, the same artifacts in the picture. If one of them's over less than a mile and the other one's at like 13 miles or so, it cannot be the same. Get it into your thick head, man.
Yeah, perspective is not curvature.
Yeah.
Yep.
The issue is, does he understand that, or does he just not get it? And it's difficult to tell, but I always assumed that he did get it and he was obfuscating, and I still think that from yesterday. But actually, I tried to be a little bit more critical of us and more understanding of him, and perhaps we didn't explain it strong enough so that it was clear, black and white, straightforward, cat sat on the mat stuff. But if he still maintains his position after this, then he must be obfuscating intentionally, dishonest. So, Ruhif, I'm hoping to see a couple of concessions out of you, dude. You can't have it looking flat over 13 miles and looking flat over 1 mile, and the only thing we see in the picture is perspective.
Yeah, something they ignore, which I'll bang about continually, because initially they tried to deny it and say it doesn't need it, or it does include it. Well, it doesn't. It doesn't include it, and it does need it, because there it is on screen. We see the effects of perspective. They are not all the same size. When you look at it in orthographic view, which is what they present us here, they all are the same size. But if you want to assert that they're curving in conformity with a sphere Earth, then they must be curved from both axes at the same rate. So if they're curving along the Z-axis, they must be curving along the X-axis, and they're not. It's as simple as that. If it's curved, it's curved.
I reckon even Arwin gets this and understands that point, and he won't argue just for the sake of arguing with me on it. Do you agree, Arwin?
I
No,
think
so,
that...
right. Let's not have that one then.
Oh, really? So you're gonna make a statement about what I think and then disallow me to talk about it?
Yeah, the answer was a yes or no, and you were like, and I thought, nope, stop. Let's not risk it.
That's too late. You already brought it up.
What are your views?
My views is that I think we pretty much made our point, and we're now starting to sound like a broken record ourselves, trying to convince people that cannot be convinced unless you want to strap them into a chair in a dark room playing this over and over and over again for over a year non-stop. They are never going to give us an inch, even though it is blatantly obvious to everyone, including themselves, that they have no way out. So, yeah, this is nothing more than psychological warfare, because the argument has been won very blatantly a long time ago. And personally, I'm getting slightly bored with it. That's my personal problem. I like to get onto new things, delve into theory. That's what I like to do. But yeah, what can you do? I'm just a little disappointed that the ballers haven't made more progress. Like, why haven't they got this this fractal looming figured out yet? I already got the countermeasures against it, though. That completely disproves that from even being possible. Just disappointed that they haven't figured out the math formula to get that working in a 3D model yet.
But I don't think that the maths is even the thing, because maths doesn't prove anything. It just
I don't care.
itself.
You know that. That's what they believe. They got their model this far on maths, and I'm just disappointed that they haven't gotten it further. They've had 500 years for it, and now they even have AI to assist them. So, just disappointed. It's like they've given up.
I think we need to pinpoint Ruhif for blame everything to do with perspective on Ruhif, because he was man enough to come on the show yesterday, but stupid enough to not realise that you can't have curvature at 13 miles and at 1 mile looking the same. Spoke to that teacher earlier on today, finding out whether or not he was uploading the video, the interview that I had with him. He hasn't done it yet. I'm beginning to wonder if he's going to do it.
Oh, has anybody heard of Rumpus's Glorious Hangout yet?
No.
So he did another Rumpus, did he? More false promises. He should like consider a political career. I think he would do great.
Yeah, Rumpus the politician.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Huge amounts of promises, and he's very self-determined, and he thinks he's great. He's the best, and he's always right. He'd make a perfect politician.
Bloody hell, Don! What are you doing up at this early?
Right. Well, it's 12:15.
I know, I'm winding you up.
I'm good now. I go to bed early and get up early.
So, have you found any curvature for us?
No. Flat motionless experience.
Really?
It's loads of obstruction, but you'll just call it perspective, won't you?
Oh, right. So you're a perspective denier.
No. Obviously, things get smaller.
Oh, right.
Yeah, but they also get obstructed.
Yeah, if you're right on the water
they
level.
Get obstructed in the foreground.
If you put your camera...
When the field of vision can narrow down any further, and they get obstructed in the background because of lack of air clarity. So there are obstructions on two sides.
Yeah.
Beyond the field of vision.
So you still gutted that perspectives are not in the Metabunk calc?
I don't care if it's in it or not.
It makes our argument extremely strong.
There's another calculator with perspective if you want to use it.
No, it's not. It gives you the same result. The Walter Bismarck one gives you the exact same result.
Yeah, I think that's the point.
No, it's not the point. The point is that you need to include perspective, because when you assert that things are going over a curve and you ignore perspective, and yet in a photograph it's very obvious that things are getting smaller into the distance, then your calculations become spurious. Simple. Hey, P. Mars.
Hi.
How you doing?
Excellent.
Good to have you.
You've had a shave, P.
Yeah, I dumped the girl that liked my beard, so I shaved.
And then that we're not using Metabunk anymore, we're using Walter Bismarck's.
And then what was the other one you said? You want to see it curve left to right if you see supposed curve obstruction?
Yeah, if it curves in one direction on one axis, and you're saying yes, of course, it's built on a curve, precisely as Ruhif said, and then you look on the other axis and there's no curve, that's not explainable. That's a contradiction.
Do you think you should see the same curve on the axis left to right?
Yeah, If it's a globe, it would be curved in all directions, Dawn.
We're just going to have to disagree, because...
No, we don't have to disagree. You just can deny it. But if it's curved, it's curved. If it's curved on one axis, it's curved on the other axis.
Yeah, that doesn't mean you can see it the same, though, does it?
Yeah, it does. That's precisely what it means. If you're on a ball, then it should look curved in all directions. It doesn't look curved in any direction.
Not like you're saying.
You never see any curve. You only see obstruction, which can be accounted for with perspective.
It's because you're too small and the Earth's too big.
No, it's not. That's what your Metabunk and Walter Bismarck calculations say. They say we should see things falling away, and when we show people them, the turbines, they say, yeah, it's being built around the curve of the Earth. And then you show them on the Z-axis, and they go, oh yeah, well, it's flat because you can't see it on this axis. It's magical curve. You only see it when you see a long distance.
They say it's because you're too small and the Earth's too big.
No, because there's perspective, which you ignore. So when you see things at a very long distance, they do appear to get smaller. That's perspective, something you ignore in the curve calcs. You just call it curvature.
Basketballs look flat close up, left to right as well.
What looks flat close up?
I don't think bacteria have eyes.
It's normally how spheres work when you're small looking across the surface. Things disappear behind the horizon of the surface, but left to right it still looks flat.
No, it doesn't.
It does. It just does. That's how a sphere works.
No, it's not. That's utter horseshit. If it's curved, it's curved. If it's curved in one direction, if you've got a basketball and you put matchsticks and glue them perfectly on it, so each one is at the top of the ball if you rotate it, then you look down the line of matchsticks, you'll see them curving away from you. If you then go on the opposite axis, you'll see them curving. It's as simple as that.
No,
if you think that you can only see curve in one axis, you're deluded. Simple. You are deluded. No. You think the Earth's a sphere.
You see left to right if you go higher up. Or you can measure pixels, apparently, if you've got 4K or a really good camera.
Really? So we can see curve in these. Yeah, we've got them on screen now. Look, they get smaller as they get further away to you, but you ignore that in the maths.
The windmill's going into the water. They're obviously behind something.
No, that's an effect of perspective. I keep telling you, that's something you ignore in the maths. That's an effect of perspective.
No.
Things get smaller into the distance, Dawn. Don't be a perspective denier. Don't just say no. Yes, they do. Things do get smaller with distance.
But they're not getting smaller on this photo.
Yeah, they are. They're getting further away. That's precisely what they're doing.
It's zoomed in.
Oh. The base, or what would you call it? The pole part is getting smaller than the windmill, the blades of the windmill.
Yeah.
So what about the island in the background?
They're obstructed more than they're getting smaller. Really
Dawn, what about the island in the background that's not meant to even be seen because of the curvature of the Earth?
What about it?
Well, we see an island in the background that we're not meant to see any of because of the curvature
that could be the sunset for all I know. I don't know what that is.
Yeah, so all we've got is obstruction, yeah, which can be accounted for with perspective. Yeah, that's simple. We've gone through it in the last 3 weeks. Nothing but that. How you can account for obstruction at the horizon. We've done it. We also show unequivocally that things do get smaller into the distance, and you guys are happy to admit that that's not needed in your world of bullshit balls. I just don't need to account for perspective. Well, look at these turbines. Clearly, one is further away than the other, and the answer we get from someone like Dawn is no.
No, you didn't. Perspective does not blatantly obstruct stuff from the bottom.
Yeah, we've shown it on multiple occasions. Yes, it does. You can have effects at the horizon which obscure things. You have a narrowing of the angle that you view things at, which causes them to squash and become more likely to be obscured by things in the near foreground. These are all effects of perspective.
Okay, can I ask you a question, Nathan? Do you seriously believe perspective obstructs stuff from the bottom blatantly?
Yeah, we've seen it and demonstrated it on multiple occasions. Aren't you watching?
So that's both of you saying you definitely believe that, right?
When the field of vision can't narrow down anymore, things
we've shown it. We've shown
closer
it
to the end of your field of vision will obstruct.
Do you believe that, Riley?
Further away.
Perspective blatantly obstructs things from the bottom.
You need something more.
When the field of vision narrows down, you can't narrow down any further. Then yes, it will obstruct things.
Head of the class.
You do need something more, but what you're not understanding is that the point of the picture that was on screen before with the turbines is not the turbines.
Something more, like waves, you mean?
Or a bit of condensed air that sits on the horizon.
Like waves or atmosphere?
Of mist. What?
Waves or atmosphere?
Yeah.
Yeah, or an optical effect called a mirage.
Right.
Things we've all demonstrated, though, Dawn. We've shown these things. Whereas the mirage at
Other
the
effects
horizon.
that aren't
Why
actually
do you keep
perspective.
talking every time I talk? The waves
Sorry.
at the. Oh, go on, Dawn.
No, sorry, I'm just apologising for talking over you.
It's all right. So the mirage that we see on many pictures that we have that are from a long distance with an inferior mirage, the stuff above refracted below, that's the only part you can't model in your globe world. You can ignore perspective and you can't model actual mirages. Does that not set alarm bells going?
I don't know, that's silly. We don't ignore perspective. Everybody knows. Even babies know that stuff gets smaller the further it gets away. No one's ignoring it.
Yeah, they are. The calculator's ignoring it. For the love of God, how many times the calculator doesn't account for it?
Yes, that's because it's not needed. This is the...
It is needed. We do account for perspective because we do see perspective. So when we see turbines getting smaller into the distance and you say they're curved, we just show you them on a different axis and they're not curved. But you're saying it's not needed. Yeah, well, what we are seeing is the effect of perspective. Things getting smaller, like the turbines, into the distance. You just call it curvature.
Nathan, just said then while you were talking was that it's not needed because the hidden value is the same. That is true, Dawn. The hidden value is the same. The issue is not the hidden value. The issue is how big is the target that fits into the hidden value, because we know that targets get smaller over the distance.
If you want to know that extra information, use the Wallace-Bisland calc.
Wait, hang on. We know that the hidden value gets bigger the further things go away, but we also know that targets get smaller as they go further away. And there comes a sweet spot where virtually everything beyond that point is always going to be in that hidden value, because it's going to be so small it's going to be consumed by the curve of the Earth. That's the point. So the hidden value will always be the same. However, the target that we're putting into the hidden value should be getting smaller and smaller and smaller with distance.
I understand you want that extra bit in the math if you're going to observe photos.
No, we don't. We don't need the extra bit. We don't care. We're not using the maths to assert we live on anything, you idiot. It's your maths. Your problem. We don't want the maths to do anything. We couldn't care less. They're your bullshit maths. What we want is concessions from idiots like Red's Rhetoric and the Rumpus and Paper Explanator and Negator XX and Sean Hufford. These idiots who have applied it without perspective because they're idiots. We do encounter perspective. It's a very real fact of life in photographs.
It doesn't affect the obstruction properly enough to bother about it.
Yes, it does. You have a bulge in the near foreground, which is a very, very close proximity to your camera. And it should be absolutely enormous and block everything from view. That's why you don't account for perspective, so that you can call perspective curvature.
No.
Yeah,
No is not an argument, Dawn. Yeah? We demonstrate how things can become obscured by miraging effects, by things in the near foreground, by a narrowing of the field of vision. We demonstrate all of this stuff. All of it is stuff you can't model when you use standard refraction, just to bend it back so it looks flat, like we see. You bend it to make it look flat because it is flat, Dawn. We're never not seeing this stuff because a bulge gets in the way. There is no bulge.
Dawn, with regard to this Wallace-Bisland one, are you competent enough to demonstrate it and show us how it works and this perspective application?
No, I'm not.
Because the reason why I ask is that you said that the Wallace-Bisland's one puts the perspective into it, but it turns out to be the same. And I'm like, well, there's obviously a problem with it, because if the Metabunk one doesn't account
if the math's exactly the same at the end, I think
hang on,
it's changed a tiny bit or something.
Hang on, if the Metabunk one doesn't deal with perspective and the Wallace-Bismarck one does deal with perspective, but they both turn out the same, then there's something clearly wrong with the Wallace-Bismarck one.
It's up to you to look if it's the same or not. I think the perspective.
Where do we find?
I don't think it changes the value that you're wanting to change.
It's the same.
Right, where do we find it?
I just assure you, Anthony, the result is the same from both.
It's made for flat Earth and globe Earthers to look and check.
Sorry, why the hell would a flat earther want something that assumes its outcome to be a sphere? It is not for flat earthers, it's for dimwits like you.
You lot could put a different R value in, and then...
The R value is a radius value. As soon as you've got an R value, you've got a sphere, Dawn, you dumbass. Why would I want an R value, you absolute retard?
All right. Well, people, we
Not
disagree.
all right. Don't say all right. Why would a flat earther want to insert a value that it automatically gives you a sphere outcome? Why would I want that,
Okay,
dumbass?
well done. I'm sorry I offered it to you.
Don't assert that this calculator's for flat earthers. It's for retards. You.
It's made because flat Earth exists now on the internet.
No, it's made to convince you, Dawn, a Muppet, that it's a sphere by assuming it's a sphere to begin with. It's called begging the question. It already knows it's a sphere. It's already got an R value.
I think there's a flat Earth bit on the calculator as well.
We don't need your R value, Dom.
Okay.
We don't need your R value.
Yeah, or R tardation. Because it's slowing you down.
Yeah, this crazy cult called FE.
Sorry. We don't have a presuppositional value, Alan. You insert this value to the same measurements that we both make. Flat Earth and Globe Earth will take the same measurements to any target, like any of the things on screen now. The only difference is you insert a presupposition that you're on a sphere. So you decide when you calculate the same exact thing to say you're on a sphere at the beginning.
Nathan, when people are navigating the ocean, they presuppose that the Earth is a sphere, yet they arrive at their destinations as intended, as if the Earth were a sphere.
Find me one person that's using a sphere to navigate from.
Everyone who navigates.
So they all take globes on boats, do they? You see a globe in the cockpit of an airplane.
The calculations they use to navigate are based off the globe model, Nathan.
Did you not hear me? Show me somebody using a globe to navigate.
I don't think P. Mars or Dawn or Alan or any one of these people ever navigate. They just think that other people
Navigate all the
their
time.
globe.
I use satellites with my GPS, my little TomTom.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Can you preview your satellites?
Yes, I've seen it connect.
Or do you just believe that he uses satellites?
Crikey. This
If they're-
is like talking to children.
If the
You're following
navigation,
instructions. You're letting a digital device
if
tell
the
you where to go.
presupposition of R is incorrect, why are people navigating using it, arriving at the correct
Sorry,
destination?
have you shown us somebody
They don't
using a
use
sphere?
R.
Hold on.
They just use the star charts.
Star charts. Why are you laughing? The star charts give you R, and then you refer back to the stars, which you got R from in the first place. It's self-fulfilling. Why do you think it works? Well, because you presuppose it when you make the measurement, so when you cross-check it, of course it refers to the same thing that you've already presupposed. It doesn't make any sense at all.
Really?
To just assume
Well, don't you think that if it's incorrect, they would not be able to arrive at the correct destination they aimed at using globe calculations?
It makes absolutely no difference. If you presuppose your outcome and use the stars to get to that judgment, then you use the stars to make the measurement you've already presupposed, the two will match. So what? It doesn't mean you're on a sphere.
Did you see the airline pilot interview with Thrive and Survive?
But how could you arrive at the correct destination with incorrect calculations?
Well, you just know where it is.
That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it
What do
does.
you mean?
You,
That
you
you're
take
there.
a map.
You guys are idiots.
No,
Sorry, you
Take
still
a-
haven't shown us a person navigating using a ball. Nobody does that. They all use flat maps, P. So until you can show me somebody actually navigating using a ball with a map on, I'm not really that interested in what you say the calculations work out to, because they're using a flat map.
No one uses a flat map, you fucking idiot.
No need to swear. Everybody uses a flat map, P. That's why I asked you to show me somebody who wasn't. One using a sphere, that's what I asked for. You haven't shown me one. See? Just get a laugh out of Alan. But rather than somebody navigating using a spherical map, I don't see that on screen. I just hear Alan laughing.
Dude, I flew around the fucking sphere
Don't swear.
and
And you
I
dream.
arrived at the correct destination.
Yeah, you're just presupposing that when you made that journey, you were on a sphere because you've told yourself, I'm flying around a sphere, which is what all globeheads do. You presuppose you're on a sphere when you do anything. And then when you've done it, you say, well, that's because I'm on a sphere. It's an affirming the consequent.
My pilot on my plane was not a flat earther.
Yeah, you can say to yourself, P, if I am on a sphere, then this journey will take 12 hours. This journey took 12 hours and went around a sphere. Therefore, I'm on a sphere. It's just a self-fulfilling prophecy. It doesn't mean anything to presuppose your outcome. And then when you get the outcome that you presupposed, you say, well, that confirms it. Well,
it's
no,
not
it doesn't.
presupposition, Nathan, anymore. It's 2018, man.
Well,
Is Del your spiritual leader?
Hello, Southern Israelite. How you doing?
Hey.
Can you hear us? Hello?
He said hi.
Oh, did he? Good, good, good.
Just
I'm good.
Sorry, what did you say, Alan?
Can you hear me?
Is Del
Yeah, I can hear
your
you.
spiritual leader?
No.
Del? I didn't even watch Del.
Did you like Dell had a satanic mass yesterday? It was
Dell had a satanic
pretty
map.
he said
enlightening.
the Satanic Bible is much more logical than the Christian Bible.
Well,
Yeah,
it's much
after
more
reading
logical than the
some of it.
Hebrew-centric Bible.
Really, really nice.
Nathan, I'm very glad that you changed the fallacy the Globers are using from begging the question to affirming the consequent. That was what I was actually getting in here to talk about.
Sorry, one is the same as the other. It's just the next step of the same thing, assuming your outcome.
No, it's not. But begging the question means you're assuming what needs to first be proved. Affirming the consequent is different. It affirming the consequent acknowledges that you're beginning with the conclusion. It's just if you make enough predictions that end up with the conclusion, then they think it affirms the conclusion. It's still affirming the consequent, but it is in essence what a scientific hypothesis is.
No.
No, but you
Yes.
then go forward
Can-
with
can I ask you a
systematic.
question?
Hold on,
And
hold on.
everything you
Hold on.
described there is
Oh,
still
that
begging
wasn't
the
addressed to
question.
me, Arwen. You
No,
take
it's
over, mate.
affirming the consequent.
Southern Israelite, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
3 weeks ago, you released a video entitled "Nathan Oakley does not understand the scientific method."
Yeah.
Is that still your position?
Yes, absolutely.
Great. Do you want to tell us why that might be? What is the
Just a few minutes ago, he is berating, navigators for assuming the Earth is a sphere. According to the scientific method, you have to begin with an assumption. That's what the hypothesis is.
What has that
Yeah.
got to do with
No,
it?
citation?
the scientific method starts by making an observation of a phenomena. It does not start with making an assumption. It starts with observing a phenomena. I don't really understand why you would assert such absolute nonsense here. Why have you asserted that nonsense?
Why have I asserted what nonsense?
That you start with
I
an
got
assumption.
Nathan to admit that his only criteria he would accept as evidence is that you have to basically launch him in a rocket up to see the Earth for himself. He won't accept any
No one's
evidence
talking to
other
you,
than
Pete.
that.
No
I
one's
got him
even
to admit
talking to
that.
you.
So
Pete,
Right, okay. I'm not an advocate for the scientific method.
Oh,
I'm just saying I know what it is. I studied it. I studied philosophy of science for years, and
sorry, philosophy is not science. Philosophy is philosophy.
all philosophy means is what you say, what you believe about something.
Philosophy.
Right, well, we're not talking about what we believe. We're talking about what we can scientifically validate. And you use a method to do so. The first step in that method is observe a phenomena, not make an assumption.
You're confusing a chronological series with a logical one. I stated even in the chat just a few minutes ago, I said Nathan does not understand that the logical beginning place for a hypothesis is an assumption. I understand that chronologically you begin with an observation, but through your syllogism, when you're developing a syllogism, you begin with an assumption, and you see if you can make your experiments are consistent with your prediction from your assumption, and then
No,
you
that's wrong.
confirm
You
it's consistent
assume-
with your assumption. It doesn't
No.
necessarily mean your assumption is true.
No,
That's
you
delicious. That's
assume-
delicious. But
No,
there is
you
no
assume
proof of R.
that
There
the
is no physical
independent
proof of
variable.
R. There is no cumulative drop. There are straight
Arwen,
lines of
for
sight.
God's sake, he's talking to me. Shut up.
Oh, really? Sorry that I can never
Well, he
talk here. It's like
He literally addresses me by name and Arwen answers him.
It's great when a grocery boy tells a scientist how it works.
He's not a
So
scientist.
have you read Novum Organum by Bacon? I've read
Sorry,
it multiple times.
It does not start
And
with a assumption.
I've cited
You
it
have
multiple times in
Why
my
are you
videos.
talking
Have you read
still? I
Novum
haven't
Organum,
addressed
Nathan?
your point. Shut up. It starts with an assumed cause. You assumed the cause in your cause and effect relationship.
Okay.
Yeah,
Right.
well, you're telling me that you start with an assumption. No, you have an assumed cause. It is your independent variable.
Right.
Yes, right. You are incorrect. You don't start with an assumption, you stupid muppet. You have an assumed cause. It is your independent variable.
Yeah, but you
Not yeah, but that is the scientific method, idiot. You have an assumed cause, not an assumption. An assumed cause.
that is how hypotheses work.
Yes, I'm telling you. You're telling me you start with an assumption. You don't. You have an independent variable, and it is your assumed cause in your cause and effect relationship.
Okay. So
Yeah, okay. So don't tell me you start with an assumption, dumbass. You start by observing phenomena.
okay.
Yeah, that phenomena becomes your
I
dependent variable.
already addressed that.
Shut
you are
up!
confusing
Shut
a chronological
up!
and logical series.
Shut up! Your
Yeah.
phenomena, shut up! Your phenomena is your dependent variable.
Do science how you want, innit? Who
A
cares?
phenomenon is not jointly exhaustive with a dependent variable. There's
It
multiple.
is your dependent variable. You're trying to establish the cause of that effect, you complete idiot.
Right. But you first.
Yeah, right. You're telling me I'm wrong, dumbass. You're telling me that you start with an assumption. You're wrong.
You
Yes.
start with an observation.
Okay. So then why
An
does
observed
Bacon
phenomena.
in
That's what
novum
you start
organum state?
I don't give a crap what some idiot states. I am telling you. Open your ears and listen. I'm not asking what some idiot in some book says. You start by observing phenomena, then you formulate hypothesis. Yeah? The phenomena is your dependent variable. Your presumed cause is what you assume, nothing more. Then you go forward with systematic experimentation to validate whether or not you are right in your assumption.
There you go. You just didn't.
Yeah, there we go. I'm correct. That's nothing different than I have ever stated, ever. Ever. So why are you talking?
Then why am I talking? Because I'm correcting things that you're confused about, and
I'm not confused about anything, dumbass. I'm telling you. I'm telling you what the scientific method is. It does not start with an assumption.
you read the Novum Organum, and you're telling me what the scientific method is.
I don't
That's
care
precious.
what this whoever you've just quoted says.
Are you serious? All right.
Yeah, I'm serious. I'm telling you, start with a phenomena that you observe. It is also your dependent variable. That is the first step in the scientific method. I don't give a crap what some idiot you are referring to says.
Okay. So Francis Bacon, the creator of this modern scientific method, doesn't know what scientific method is. Okay. That's great. All right. Well, if that's the case, then have a good day.
Nathan prefers his scientific method from a Christian fundamentalist.
You can both do it slightly different.
Getting
scientific
old,
method. It
Alan.
Doesn't matter, man.
You're getting
I
very,
just
very
googled
old.
scientific method and
I am old, Darwin.
it doesn't say observe a
You're
phenomenon.
getting
or
older
anything like that.
and boring.
It says it starts with asking a
Boring as you, then.
question.
Yeah, according to
So you-
different university websites, I mean, John was quite thorough and he's had all the citations that would be needed. You start
Here's
with
one that says observation.
There's different ones, man. You can do it how you want.
you can ask a question if you wish, but ultimately the point is you're going to prove that the effect that you're observing is manipulated by the experimenter to prove causation. That is the scientific
That's
method.
not the only way to do it, man.
Well, what else is there? Do you have another way of doing it that we don't know about?
You don't have to take those steps religiously.
It's
Well,
ridiculous.
otherwise it falls outside the scientific method, and you have to concede that.
Hold on.
That's still
No,
science,
Dawn, you're
man.
right. You don't
No,
have to
no.
follow those methods,
Francis
right? You
Bacon
don't have
believed in
to.
the creator
You can
of the
just assume
scientific
your
method.
outcome, Dawn. You can just assume R. You don't have to follow that method. But following that method would be scientific. Assuming R would be an assumption.
Yeah. Let me get back to Francis Bacon for a moment. He is not the inventor of the scientific method. Yeah?
But you know that.
He's an advocate and practitioner of the scientific method during the scientific revolution. He was a politician, Attorney General, and the Lord Chancellor of England.
That sun on screen is going to go
Are you an
behind.
idiot? Are you an idiot, Erwin, or what?
No, I just looked this up. It's right there. So it's nonsense. He didn't invent the scientific method. He was a practitioner and a philosophical advocate of it. So this guy was talking out of his ass.
You read his book?
I'm reading the wiki page right there.
You trust Wikipedia now, do you, Owen?
You trust
all of a
Wikipedia now,
sudden?
do you?
Well, this is the official
Try
version
Googling
of it.
Earth's shape on Wikipedia, Owen.
So you're going to deny that Wikipedia is historically accurate when it comes to historical persons here?
It isn't accurate at all. Riley spent half his life changing entries in that thing.
Okay, sure. Oh, there's nothing here about him inventing.
Try Wikipedia. How does the sun?
And as far as I know, the scientific method was invented by the Greeks a couple of thousand years before that. So
It's all lies, though, right?
I don't know.
You just pick which parts you trust, which parts you don't from Wikipedia.
Well, this is the lore that you prescribe to. So
Have you had a look at Nova Morganum?
I could look him up.
No, that's the book he wrote, you dumbwit.
Oh, okay, sure.
What's going on, Dawn? They don't even know what they're talking about.
I don't know.
Should we talk drum and bass?
I like to go on the philosophy, like I did, like talk about the discussion, discuss the discussion rather than the science, because we disagree on the science.
No, we disagree on the evidence.
Okay. Yeah, the scientific evidence.
Yeah. So he was basically he was a science philosopher. So one of these people that was philosophizing about the science.
Yeah, but you don't fully trust Wikipedia, do you?
So he was a philosopher. And what I'm reading right here describes that. So
try looking up sunsets on Wikipedia. Read that out.
Yeah.
It's just so ironic to watch the sunset on the screen while on a flat Earth show.
It is extremely ironic, especially because since you have to assume that it's all looming into a flat plane around you, and yet all of the heavenly bodies don't behave the same way.
See it disappear.
Yeah, they don't loom. They just
every night
go under directly. It's no angular speed change or anything.
Dawn, it's disappearing.
Stars don't bend up
into the
line just over the horizon as would be required when there is actual looming happening.
Word salad.
Bending the ball into a flat plane, but the heavenly bodies don't bend that way.
Made all that up.
It's so sad.
That's the creative side of your brain.
It's moving down into the downward optical slant.
Right. Yeah, but it doesn't actually bend up as would happen if everything was looming up from a ball into a flat plane.
No, I'm not talking about that. I'm just talking about it going behind
Of course you're not, because it is a huge, huge obstacle for you. Because you have to assume it's all looming.
About a sunset going behind the Earth, blatantly. It's now happening right now on
the
screen.
The thing is, the Earth is supposedly a ball.
Exactly.
But it's optically not a ball because it's all looming into a flat plane. And if it is all looming, then all visual phenomena should be subjected to this looming effect, including the lights from the so-called stars distances away. They should also be subjected to this same looming effect, which would cause all of these stars to bend upwards at the horizon into a thick line of stars. Yet they just go right past it.
You just make stuff up.
Man, I told you, you're just making it up, Owen.
No,
yes,
you're the one that You're the one that's making it up.
No, I'm not
you
making
think
it up.
it's all looming. You have to assume it's all looming, but I'm just drawing a consequence from that assumption.
Earth right now, on screen.
You have to not believe in gravity to assume you're flat Earth or whatever.
I don't have to do anything.
Yeah, but hang on. What's worse?
I mean, the amount of things you have to deny to believe the Earth is flat is astronomical.
They're matched by the amount of things you have to make up.
Why?
Lie about.
Why do you have to believe a bunch of ad hoc hypotheses rather than an explanation that makes sense?
PMARS, what's worse, not believing gravity because we don't think that you guys can prove it to be a flat earther, or in the alternative, believing in something that you can't prove and being a ball earther?
The only reason you
first
disbelieve
one.
in gravity is because it makes the flat Earth not work. That's the only if
No.
gravity could work on a
Dude.
flat Earth, you would have no problem in
Dude,
believing in it.
If you could
'Cause you're
prove
biased.
gravity,
Gravitational
I
pull
would
could
be on your
work
side.
just fine on the flat Earth. The problem is it doesn't, because there is none. But if it was there, it
You
would
know what you're
work
talking
fine.
about, Arwen? Because if the Earth was flat and gravity existed as we know it, then it would be all wonky because there would be more gravity in the center of a disk, and then on the edges,
You mean like oblate?
so things would
Would be
slant
oblate? Hmm?
towards the edge.
That sounds
No.
like a Vsauce explanation. Have you been watching Vsauce by any chance, P Mars? Because that's a very, very Vsauce type answer. I mean, I used to like Vsauce, but Vsauce, ultimately speaking, aren't the best places to
I
get your
can
flat
explain
Earth
flat Earth
defences.
gravity better than these guys, man.
Say
I
again,
don't
John?
even believe it.
Say again?
I'll explain flat Earth gravity better than you guys. I don't even believe it.
Flat Earth gravity. Gravity is a concept that the ballers have come up with.
It's not. It's just
It
the
is.
word for why things go down towards the Earth.
Yeah, just a word. It's not a proven thing.
It is proven. Have you seen a video of someone in a vomit comment and they show that buoyancy doesn't work when they remove gravity
They're
from
not removing gravity. They're in free fall.
a vomit comet simulates a gravity-free environment.
You just said it removes
And
it. You just said
they show
you just said it removes
how
gravity. It doesn't.
liquid is
Negates
buoyant.
the
They
downward
show
acceleration
how
force
it
through
negates
motion.
the buoyancy force. Have you seen this video?
No, it doesn't. You're in free fall.
I've explained this. They just negate the downward acceleration force with motion to equalize it, to negate it.
They don't even negate it. You're comparing your free fall to a similar object also in free fall at the same speed, i.e. the plane that surrounds you. So your frame of reference says you're not moving, but you absolutely are. You're in free fall.
Tumbleweed.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
What? I don't know. I guess you don't understand the experiment.
You're falling.
In and out of love.
Right. It simulates the lack of gravity.
It doesn't simulate anything. You're just falling.
I wouldn't worry about it, P Mars. They just say stuff.
No, you are literally just falling through the air with the thing that is surrounding you also falling through the air. That's it. You're not negating gravity. You're not simulating gravity. You're not doing any of those things. Your frame of reference is also falling with you. That's it.
No, they show.
What do you mean, no? The plane is falling. You are also falling. So from your perspective, it seems like you're in free fall with the thing around you in free fall. That's all that's happening.
You're an idiot.
No, I'm not an idiot. That's precisely what is happening. The plane and you are falling at the same speed. Therefore, it appears like you're floating. You're not. You're falling.
What are you talking about? I'm not even. And it's nothing what I'm talking about. I'm talking about.
You're saying you simulate gravity with this. You don't. You're just an idiot. You think it simulates gravity because you don't understand what's happening. And what is actually happening is the plane and the things in the plane are all falling.
I'm talking about the buoyant force, you idiot.
There is no such thing as a buoyant force.
Yeah, there is.
No, there isn't, Arwen.
Look, guys.
There is no. There may be a mathematical equation.
I hate to do this, but P. Mars is freaking right. But he's just constantly replacing the damn gravitational pull theory with just the downward acceleration force, which is there. It is there. It causes buoyancy and density to function in the way it does. And when you go into a free fall diving plane, the right speed, then the buoyancy and density force will no longer apply.
Mute your watch page.
That is just how it works. It has nothing to do with gravitational pull at all. It's just negating the downward acceleration.
You all make up a different reason for it.
No, Arwen makes up his own reason for it.
That's what I just said.
So I'm just being real about this.
Yeah, but
Why
you're
going
individually why
on
stuff falls towards
gravity
Earth.
element.
Stuff and completely
There
different.
is downward acceleration force.
There
It is
is
there.
downward acceleration, but it's not a force.
Why?
It
Why?
is there.
Why does
Right,
stuff
there is-
fall towards Earth, guys?
Everybody accepts that there is a downward acceleration, but nobody can prove that it's a force.
Well, what is a force? A force
Something that pushes
is
or something that pulls.
no. That's
You
not
can't
what a
put
force
it
is
into
at all. A
words.
force
Go on, then.
is basically
Talk
a
about it.
motion.
Yeah, something that pulls or something that pushes.
No, that is a starting assumption.
You can't
That's the
move without a
definition of a
force.
force.
You think you can? You think an object can move without a force acting on it? That makes no sense.
It's called
No.
relative equilibrium. If you put an object into a state of relative equilibrium, it'll stay still. If you move it or displace it out of relative equilibrium, it will equilibralize all by itself. No force is required. We can see that, demonstrate it, repeat it. It's easily done.
Yeah, like putting something onto an object,
Just
onto another object, then it'll lay still. But
just put
if you
three-
then remove that other object that it's laying on, it's going to fall down because there is a downward acceleration
No.
force that pulls the heavy downwards
Put three
and
liquids.
pushes the light up.
Put 3 liquids in a container. Put,
Yeah,
say,
we
water.
went through this, Riley. I'm
Yeah, put
severely disappointed that you are too retarded to
I'll
understand
just
this.
remind you both there's blatant obstruction on screen.
Any obstructions,
Blatant
curvature, right?
obstruction.
Any obstructions, curvature, right?
Stuff going behind Earth blatantly.
Yeah, that's on a model.
No,
Do we need to do this one again?
Ranty's photo of the sun and the
Oh, hang on.
balloons,
Where am I looking here?
wind turbines.
I'm seeing the side profile picture that somebody did. What are you looking at?
You know, Ranty's nice sun with the big boat in front of it and the turbines on the left.
Yeah, why am I not seeing that? I'm seeing the thing with.
That's just gone, but it was on screen. It was lovely.
Yeah, I didn't see any obstruction in that boat.
But while you guys are arguing with each other, there's blatant proof of Earth's curve on the screen.
Really, Nathan? Could you bring that back on
really,
screen?
man.
Let's talk. Bring that back on screen, Nathan, and let's talk about it because there's an issue here.
No,
Someone's
why we have Don in the panel anymore? The guy-
1/3 of the sun. has
You're
gone
clearly
behind
demented
Earth.
from all the hard drugs you've been taking, you junkie idiot.
Will that do?
Who was he talking to? Then me.
Name calling.
Yeah, you, Riley, of course.
Who understands
I'm
reality.
talking to Don. The guy is completely demented, man.
Well, you
Remember any argument beyond 5
Where's half the
Just
sun
starts
gone
over
in this
again.
picture? Where has
Start
the
over again
sun
like a
gone?
schizophrenic.
Any obstructions, curvature again,
Demen-
Dawn, right?
Demented is relative, mate.
No,
Demented is
Riley,
relative.
that's straw man. I never said any obstructions curvature, did
No,
I?
but you're applying that.
Where's
thing.
half the sun gone, Riley, on this picture? Where is it?
So you're saying that half sun's fallen
Can you
down.
answer my question?
Not
Where's half the
anywhere,
sun?
Don. It's not anywhere. It's not a physical object. It's an optical phenomena.
Dawn, have you seen what happens
You
to the
made
sun?
that up.
No,
Dawn,
I
don't-
didn't make
yes, you
that
did,
up.
mate.
I've
You made it
described
up.
it in detail. You
Do you have any
demoted
evidence
freak.
for that?
Drugs are bad. You're gonna.
Made up.
You don't want to end up like Don. Don't do drugs.
Yeah,
don't do
that's
drugs.
that's actually a good thing. Thank you, Primo.
Do you have any evidence for that, Alan?
We have no evidence that they are physical in any way.
Oh, except you get hot
Do you
when
have
you go
any-
outside.
Do you have evidence that
You
they're
get
not?
hot from the freaking light hitting you. You don't even know where it's coming from. You have no proof that it's coming from the sun. You don't have proof that there is a sun physically at any location. You just see that freaking disc there.
Since when do non-physical objects make you hot? Jesus.
It's
They
coming from
don't. The light hitting you makes you hot, you demented idiot.
You know that this doesn't work anyway.
Let's just give Dawn an example. So you say, when do non-physical things make you hot? Well, you can have something that causes heat that isn't the cause. So, for example, the exhaust pipe of a car. Yeah, you would stand next
Yeah,
to it
the
and get.
physical exhaust pipe of a car.
Yeah, but you can stand next to it and say, well, the cause of this heat that I'm feeling is this exhaust. Whereas if you were to do further,
Yeah, I get Owen's point. I
if you
just
were
think
to
it's
do
silly.
further investigation, you'd find out there was an engine actually powering it. Right? It's
Yeah.
not the
You
exhaust.
understand it, but you don't really understand.
Have you got
it.
an example of
You're just
something
conceding without
non-physical
conceding.
that actually makes heat?
So you can go on
Yeah,
in
I can.
imaginary
I can.
rambling of
Big shout out to Validation Boy.
Answer my question first, Riley. Where's half the
retarded
sun?
arguments.
Well, I tried to answer it. I got shouted over. Let
I
me
know,
address the
'cause
one.
Owen just made stuff up over the top of you.
Yeah, right. So, firstly, I'm going to give you that the light is coming from the sun. I think most people accept that the light comes from the sun, whatever the sun might be. How do you? What was the last one that you just asked?
Just where is half the sun? It's gone. There's only like, I don't know.
Yeah, but what's the obstruction, Dawn?
Well, I'm just asking you, where is it? Where's most of the sun? It's nearly gone
It's gone
completely.
behind the topography of the land that's in front of where the sun is, between you and the sun.
Okay, imagine it was an ocean. You've seen an ocean sunset before. Where's
Yeah.
the sun gone in that photo?
it's still gone off. Have you ever seen a sunset over a dry climate but at altitude?
So what do you mean? Where is it gone again?
Answer that question. Have you ever seen a sunset in a dry climate
I
at
still
altitude?
don't know the answer to mine. It's gone behind the topography. So is that the same over water?
Right. I'm asking you, have you ever seen a sunset at,
That's
at
not
altitude
reasonable,
in a
Anthony.
dry
Come on.
climate?
Anthony, he's asked you a direct question.
The answer is I don't know where it's gone because I can't tell whether there's water there or land there. But if it was water there, it's just gone into the distance and it's being magnified by the lower layer of the densest of Earth. That's
Okay.
my view on it.
No,
However,
I can't debunk that, but I think it's silly.
Okay, but have you ever seen a sunset at altitude in a dry climate?
I think so. Yeah, I've been to Lanzarote, and that's quite dry.
All right, I'll find a sunset at altitude with a dry climate, and I'll come back to you and I'll show you that the sun dilates. It does not do what you say it does, and you need to explain it because it should drop behind the curve everywhere on Earth. So you only need to find it once, and then it becomes a question. Yeah,
Is that with a sun filter? Would those pictures be with a sun filter or what?
The hot.
Oh, right. So you want a sun filter, right? So you're going to argue that without a sun filter, that somehow negates the idea that the sun.
Yes, because of the exposure. It's got.
Oh, right. All right. So let me find.
Oh no, not necessarily, Anthony. I'm just wondering, what does a sun filter do then? If we can't, if we're going to exclude it, what does it do? Why are we excluding it?
A sun filter provides a very convenient excuse for you guys to negate the idea that a sun sets or does not set when it's
What does it?
by environment.
Sorry, mate. What does it physically do? Not the excuses we use for what it does, but what does it physically do?
It doesn't physically do anything. We don't have any proof of physicality.
Filters out certain light waves. Why are you asking, Was?
What was that? Sorry, I have to keep
It filters
using
out certain light waves. Why are you asking?
Well, you seem to want to exclude the sun filter. That's the impression I'm getting. Are you wanting to exclude it or not?
But why is it necessary?
Apply it and use it as the excuse to negate everything.
Well, it's to take away the glare.
Yeah, but the glare will be subject to the sun, right? Say that the sun. What you're doing is using the solar filter as the excuse to negate evidence to the contrary of your view. If it hasn't got a solar filter on it, you won't accept it.
But do you know what glare is?
Yeah.
Sure, but glare from what? Alan laughs every time I ask a question
From
recently.
the sun.
This is the photo I was on about now.
So sorry, I'm asking a question. Glare from what?
The sun.
Well, what is that? What's the sun?
Pardon?
What is it?
It's a source of light and heat.
Yeah, but
as
what
far
is
as
it?
we know.
But what is it? I know that. I
With
just
no
have to
proof
look at it
otherwise.
to know that and get hot. But what is it?
It's the god, isn't it?
Sorry, I've got background noise and it keeps muting out. Hang on, see if I can stop it.
No worries.
Helios, the god. You'd be dead without it, Nathan.
That's not what I'm asking.
No, you'd be dead without sunlight.
I'm asking
Not that
what it is. What is it? Not what it does. What is it?
Whatever you want
The
to
sun.
Yeah, that's just its title. What is it? What actually is it? Like the exhaust pipe in the car, right? We get heat from the exhaust pipe, and if we just look at the exhaust pipe, we wouldn't know what was causing the fumes to come out of it. We'd have to investigate further to find out what is the exhaust pipe fumes. Well, they're excess gas from a combustion engine. But you don't know that just from looking at the exhaust, and I'm saying I'm just looking at a light in the sky. What is it?
You do know that from looking at exhaust. You can go and touch the
Doesn't-
exhaust. Take it apart,
Right,
see what it is.
excellent, Dawn, excellent. When did you go and touch the sun? And so, what
I'm
was
just
your
saying, you can
what were your
deduce stuff
findings when you
after
went
you've
and
looked
touched
at
the
it.
sun? What were your findings,
Bogus
Dawn?
comparison.
What were your findings, Dawn, when you went and touched the sun like you can touch an engine?
We deduce stuff from seeing stuff.
Sorry, I'm looking at an exhaust, and you're telling me I can go and touch the car and examine the engine. So who's
Imagine you
examining?
can't-
You just have to presume it
You
again.
can just look at it.
Yeah, you
I-
can
I-
look
right,
at it
like
and
I
you just
look
have
at
to
it.
presume it all again.
When I
and
look
there
at a car, Dawn,
No,
when
here we go.
I look at a
I
car,
don't,
Dawn,
I don't know if that's
Coming out of
completely
a
the right
physical
approach, Dawn.
thing.
when I look at a car, Dawn, I just see a car. I don't see an engine.
This is a ridiculous conversation.
The exhaust gives off heat, right? So what? We're still getting heat from the exhaust.
Does it?
So
Where's your proof
cares?
that it does?
Who-
Where's your
who-
proof
who
that it
cares?
does? Have you
All right,
measured
okay,
the
I'll
heat?
use your guys' logic then, right? So exhaust gives off heat, therefore heat from exhaust. So the sun is an exhaust pipe, right? So what's powering that exhaust pipe?
Who cares? It doesn't matter.
Oh, really? Doesn't matter? So we should just filter it out even though we haven't got the slightest clue why we're filtering it or what it is. We should just filter it, right?
Yep, you got it. Now you're starting to understand.
Now I'm understanding. Yeah, I've got it. Let's arbitrarily filter it out because we haven't got the slightest vaguest notion what it is or what it does or how it works. So let's filter the light because of glare. Right, Was?
It's not arbitrary. You're using a physical device.
It is arbitrary. You don't even know what it is or what it does or what you're filtering. So it is arbitrary. Absolutely arbitrary.
No, you're being a bit of a drama queen. You don't. You can use a sun filter to take away the glare.
Glare
You're not
of
taking
what?
away anything else.
The glare. This was my original
The
question.
glare from the atmosphere.
Oh, so it's the atmosphere that we're taking the glare
Maybe.
from, not the sun. Oh, that seems
Maybe.
strange. I thought we were looking at the sun. So the atmosphere comes into
Well,
this, does it?
why do you wear sunglasses?
Because I get glare.
Interesting.
Yeah, I'm not
So
trying to examine the sun with my sunglasses, though, am I? You are, and you're telling me
but
that
the
I must
sunglasses,
filter it.
the sunglasses take away glare, so you can see things better. Is that fair enough to say?
I don't know what the sun is.
Hmm?
I don't know what it
Pardon?
is. Why would I want to filter it? Maybe it's really crucial that I see those light rays that we're filtering out. Maybe they're critical to finding out what it is. Maybe if I go and touch it, I'd have a better idea of what it is. But I can't, so I don't know. You guys say we don't know either, apparently, but we're going to filter it because we must, because we wear sunglasses. That's your explanation.
No, you're not hearing me properly, mate. You wear the sunglasses to filter out the glare so you can see things better, right? So you can see things in front of you, around you, and whatever. So why can't we do that with the sun? We can filter out the glare from the sun so we can see the sun better.
What is it? What are you seeing better? What is it? I keep asking and you just don't answer. You just say, I don't know, but I'll filter it anyway.
Yeah, I don't care.
Let me read
Well,
this.
I do. I'm pretty keen to know what these things are before I start filtering out the light of them to determine what they are. I'd like to know what it is first.
I'm getting my shit back.
If you're gonna put sunglasses in between, what it will effectively do is prevent you from being blinded by the light hitting your eye, making that visual phenomena of the sun disk more easily observed without getting blinded by the light hitting your eye. That is what that does.
Truth.
I didn't understand what you said, Owen.
Hey, Plain Truth.
I didn't get all. I didn't
hear
get
it. Sorry. Can you hear us, Plain Truth?
I am.
Hello?
That's him.
Yeah, I literally passed
On
it.
mute or something. No mic.
So
speak up.
We trust science, what the sun is. You
No,
guys don't know what
no.
it is. But we can agree it's hot and it's bright and it goes behind Earth, right?
What
science? I don't understand what the problem is with using a solar filter.
Hang on a minute.
You haven't given me anything really.
We can't agree.
We don't trust science. You may trust science. We do not trust science in what it tells
None of you
us.
agree the sun goes behind Earth, even though you go to sleep and it's
There is
dark
an
every
optical
single night.
phenomena, the sun disk, and it does indeed go what appears to be behind the horizon at some point, and then the daylight starts to
What can
retract.
we deduce from the sun appearing to go behind Earth every night?
Nothing.
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 The daylight goes away.
Jesus Christ.
No need
Yeah,
to blaspheme.
that's also called the sun.
But what do you deduce from it? Well, you presuppose that you're on a sphere and it's going behind it. That's what you presuppose. So you go, the sun disappears bottom up. It's another affirming the consequent formal logical fallacy. So, if the sun disappears bottom first, it's going to be going around a sphere Earth. The sun appears to go bottom first, so we're on a sphere Earth.
I wouldn't assume that it's non-physical, just sinking into the ocean. I wouldn't
I don't
assume
assume
that.
anything about
I
it,
assume it's
Dawn.
actually
You
going
assume
behind
a
Earth.
lot. You assume all kinds of things about that sun in the heliocentric model. For a start, you assume you're spinning around it.
Yeah, well, I don't really assume that anymore. That's what science says.
Right, well, you've just told us you're happy to accept what science says, even though science is a method that establishes things through formulation of hypothesis. Science is hypothesis-driven, not lips-driven.
Well, the sun appears to go behind Earth every night, doesn't it?
Yeah,
So what?
it appears.
The most logical
There you
step
got
is
it.
that it does go.
There
behind
you
the
got
Earth.
it. It appears.
Yeah.
It's optical.
So what can we deduce from that, Owen?
Nothing.
That it's an optical phenomena and it behaves a certain way. That's what you can deduce.
Right, so,
from that.
okay, if you want to believe that, just go on with your
No,
life.
that is what is real. It's an optical phenomena that you can observe, and it behaves a certain way according to a certain
In the
pattern.
sky, it's
That is
bright
the
and
honest
it appears to go
reality
behind
of it.
Earth
Let's
every
try it from a
single
different.
night.
Let's try it from a different angle.
So we can use the sun filter on.
No, forget the sun filter. Let's try it from a different angle. We observe the phenomena. We observe the phenomena that the sun appears to go behind the horizon, right?
Yeah.
So the hypothesis would be that the sun is setting because of the Earth's rotation, correct?
Well, not at first. If science didn't say that and I was a caveman trying to work it out,
Right.
maybe I'd think the Earth is still flat, but sun's...
And with that, I'm going to say first and foremost a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of the live audience for tuning in and hopefully sharing this debate. And of course, a massive thank you to all of the debating panel for making this debate possible. If you hated the show, then you know exactly what to do. But if you like the show, maybe consider subscribing if you've not done so already, or sharing it with a friend. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye-bye.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!